Hey, this is Jenny. Every day is a new day, and no question that today is amazing. This weekend, actually, I was invited to talk at a couple of masses for promoting Catholic in recovery here in South Carolina and Georgia. So, where we're located, there are about 13 counties together, and between all of them, they are called the CSRA. So, there's a group in Georgia, Catholic and Recovery group, and then there's a group in South Carolina here, and they're very close part of this community. So CSRA. Anyway, so I was invited to talk a little bit about that at the end of Mass last night and again today. So I will share with you what I shared, and then also we'll talk about my decision for public finding a publisher and going through the publication process. So having a book that is complete, at least from my standpoint, and then how did I decide what to do with it? So first off, I only had a few minutes at the pulpit to give an announcement, and I'm talking to people who likely have never heard of Catholic in Recovery, who may or may not be in recovery, who may or may not be, you know, be afflicted with any kind of addiction or behavior or unhealthy attachment. So here's how I said what I said. I said, that my name was Jenny, that I am a beloved daughter of God, and that I have a terminal illness, and that it's an illness that I've had for a long time that has tried to take me out physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So I described that, parts of my illness are this drive to self-destruct, and it had manifested itself when I was younger, in anorexia. It manifested itself in drug addiction. If there's something to overdo, I try to do it. Setting realistic limits or balance is definitely a discipline that I try to master. But really, the number one thing that tried to take me out, I would say my drug of choice is alcohol. So I described that 5 years ago, the founder of Catholic in Recovery came to our church, Our Lady of the Assumption in Carmichael, California. And I was part of the pastoral council at the time and very active in my addiction and hiding how much I was drinking from everyone. At this point, I had lost my job. I was drinking about a bottle of vodka a day, buying it from all different stores. So no one store would see me, every day, every other day, what have you. My marriage had definitely started to change because I had changed. I was concealing what was happening, but I was like always intoxicated, always withdrawn. I'd stopped exercising, stopped eating properly, stopped with self-care. Some days I didn't brush my teeth or wash my face or shower. So yeah, things were different and desperate. So what I described at the pulpit was that the founder of Catholic in Recovery came to our church and asked me to lead. Well, he came and talked about Catholic in Recovery. Our priest wanted to start it at the church, and I was asked to lead it because I was part of the communications committee, the pastoral council, time on my hands. I had an appetite to volunteer because I really was feeling peaceful at church, and that's where I spent a lot of time. Um, so I said, yes, I would. And that was for the first time my exposure to the 12 steps of recovery. So I learned about the 12 steps. I started to meet people who were from 12-step fellowships like AA, NA, OA, Al Anon, people who were brand new, who were looking for recovery, and it exposed me to the steps. So that was 5 years ago. So I led meetings active in my addiction until I received the gift of desperation and finally asked God, actually begged God for help. And he, saved me and saved everything about my life and my marriage. And of course, I have a job. I got a job after being in recovery a few months. So I just had a chance to kind of summarize what I'm sharing now into a brief announcement and say that Catholic in Recovery is a complement to a faith-based Catholic complement to normal 12-step programs. And people who come because they are dealing with alcoholism or drug addiction or gambling or pornography or lust addiction or cluttering or financial issues, or like overspending or control of money, or control issues, anger behaviors. Gosh, if there is something we can overdo, overeating or restricted eating like bulimia and anorexia. So, or somebody who's dealing with a friend or family member who is a victim of these things or suffering from these unhealthy attachments and addictions, or maybe somebody who was raised in a home, a dysfunctional home of an alcoholic or other kind of dysfunctional family. So basically, most people qualify to having in some addiction or unhealthy attachment, or they know someone. So I was able to let them know that we have a few meetings here in the South that are in-person meetings, but that there are over 50 meetings a week that are women's meetings, men's meeting, general recovery, where kind of everyone is there. So it really was a wonderful few minutes. And then what was nice is Steve and I were invited to fellowship, at least this morning, which is Sunday, afterwards. And so there was food and lots of people coming up and just sitting next to us and telling us a little bit about their story, or somebody that they know that needs help, or hey, I'm also from California, moved to South Carolina. So I got to meet people from California and from Virginia and other places that are around here. So that is the weekend, but the book is really expands on my story of kind of what little Jenny was like, things leading up to that destruction and some of the experiences I've had in the past. But it is a comeback story for God for sure, because here I am, healthy and happy and alive. And now that I have been saved, of course, I would like to do whatever I can for those people who don't have anyone that they can relate to be able to relate to about our struggles with unhealthy attachments and addiction. So once the book about all of those things in this comeback story were written, then my next step was to figure out what to do with the book. So I definitely have the desire to record on my own and develop the audiobook. So I was looking for some help with publishing the virtual, or the not virtual, but the digital ebook, and then also not hardback, but paper book. So I did a lot of research on self-publishing and what you have to do there, creating my own cover, what would the artwork look like. And I found that I told my story, but I really wanted some help when it came to the cover and getting things loaded, and also help with sales and marketing. So I know who I know, but how can I expand the reach? Because this is God's story to tell. So how am I going to be able to amplify that? And in business, I am a woman who works in channel, like I work in ecosystems. I work in partnerships and synergies, and how do we amplify throughout relationships for success and win-win for everybody. So I have worked with a woman named Jen Grace, and I had taken a training class from her. She has taught thousands of coaches like me create, this course that she teaches, I got certified to teach it. She has worked with many trainers like me. She does retreats. She is a published author herself. She is a Hay House author, actually. She has a TED Talk. I aspire to have a TED Talk someday or be up there. So anyway, I've really enjoyed working with her and learning from her. And she, about the same time, I'm looking for some help with sales and marketing, and more attracted to the hybrid publishing space than I am to the traditional. So traditional publishing, I had kind of ruled out because of the lead time, or 12 to 18 months that it could take from the beginning of getting like a proposal or what have you written, finding a publisher, all of that. I really wanted the story out sooner than later. So I was starting to realize I didn't want to self-publish, even though that would be the fastest way. I would have the most control when it came to any finances. Of course, I would be able to have maximum ROI, but I was looking for some help and definitely an amplification. So Jen Grace and Coach Raven Petty actually were coming together about the same time to create a hybrid publishing company, which they just launched last week. So I've had the benefit of working with them behind the scenes for a couple of months now as their first author. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm in learning and development. I create programs, we do pilots, we do, testing and so forth, but it hasn't felt that way at all. Like they're utterly professionals, utter professionals. And so the cover looks amazing. All of the help I've received from a publicist to getting onto doing blogging, getting on podcasts, like a lot of things are in motion right now, getting a launch team together to help amplify for the pre-sale and all of those. So it's really fun. I love campaigns and I love launching new things. I love everything about business. So this has been super exciting to be part of, somebody's business launch as their first author while I'm a first time author. So I made a great choice with that. At the time I submitted my manuscript for their consideration, I also submitted my manuscript to another faith-based hybrid publishing company, and they accepted as well. And so that was really nice just to have a couple of choices, but also to see a couple of different contracts. And luckily, in my experience in business, I've been able to work with legal teams to create contracts for businesses or for academy programs or for relationships with instructors and other things. So I've had some experience with negotiating and redlining and so forth. So I was able to I use some of my experience, but also be able to have a few different things to contrast so that the rights that I wanted to have, other things I was able to do some negotiation. So that worked out great as well. So that is what I did. So I could have chosen self-publishing, hybrid, or traditional, or not publishing at all. That also is a choice. I've learned people who have books that they have not published yet. So there's the choice of hanging on, hanging on to the written work and not necessarily sharing it with everyone. But the story of mine is not my story. It's the story of God's power, and it can help other people. So I would like it out broad. And I'd also like to be a published author. So that is something that came into my decision making. So Raven and Grace Press launched their business, their company last week. And in the comments here, you'll see their link. You can certainly check them out. And I'm very happy to be their author. And the book is going to be published July 22nd. So very soon. You'll see a lot more in terms of more promotional things around the book. But in the next episode, I'll share with you some of the cover ideas and then see if you can guess which one that we're actually going with. So stay tuned for next week to learn a little bit more about the cover of the book. And then, of course, continue on this journey. So it's really exciting, writing blogs, doing guest blogs, considering podcasts. I was recently on Purpose Driven Seller podcast. If you haven't seen that in my feed, just, take a look at that podcast. That's very, boy, his questions, Isidro's questions got really to the heart of some of my darkest moments that we shared on that podcast. So that might be something that might help you or might help somebody or if you're curious, check it out. So thank you so much for being with me on this journey. Literally every day is a new day. We wake up, we take our breath, we are alive, no matter what our physical situation is like. We have a breath that we can take and we can start our day fresh no matter what happened yesterday. Yesterday is gone. No need to regret it. No need to relive it. We just keep moving forward. We are creative creatures. So how do you want to grow today? How do you want to live today? What's something that you want to do to change the world today? Those are all fun things to begin the day thinking about. So take good care. God is lovingly watching over you. God is lovingly watching over me. And I love you. Thanks.